And welcome back, everybody. We are here for the World Cup of Pokemon VGC, hosted by none other than Victory Road, sponsored by El Gato, the microphone and the company, not the lovely little cat over here. But yes, I myself am Costa, and I am joined by the ever so lovely Lou. How are we doing, Lou? I see that we do have an actual special guest honor for today.
We certainly do. I mean, by popular demand, as you said, we're sponsored by Elgato. Let's have an Elgato on the stream as well. So he'll just be chilling with us and giving his, very wise opinion on some of the phenomenal Pokemon matches that we're going to be watching today. So far, the tournament has been phenomenal. The weekend has certainly provided some excellent caliber matches that you can check out on Victory Road's YouTube channel if you did happen to miss them. But today, we are going to be bringing you 4 matches to watch live on the stream.
Exactly, and those 4 matches we're going to be featuring for today are going to be Ren Chengfu of China versus Devon Singh of India. We then have Ina Shakar from Israel up against Alexandra Schwikel from Poland. The third one's going to be Florian Henry from France versus Lazaropoulos from Greece, and we are going to be finishing off today's stream with Alex Gomez from Spain against Kevin Salvetto of Italy.
Yeah, this looks like a fantastic lineup already for today's Sunday stream. Particular attention to that final game for me, Alex Gomez versus Kevin Salvetto. Both these players I've seen perform before, and they always demonstrate great Pokemon play, so it'd be good to see them come down against each other as well. You know, Spain and Italy, 2 very well-renowned Pokemon teams, so it'd be good to see them in action. And I'm sure, Costa, you're looking forward to seeing Greece's edition as well.
I am indeed, Lou, as I am managing the Greek side, so I'm very excited in seeing Lazarus's match against Florian today, and I will be able to cast over it. But enough of that, of course, ladies and gents. We're going to go over to our first match of today, which is going to be featuring the China versus India matchup. Currently, we do see that they are at 3-3, Lou, so quite everything's still up in the air, and I think each of the countries right now will be trying to push for the win.
Yeah, this is where things get really intense. It's pretty level pegging so far, so to be able to kind of clutch out a win here would be really nice to kind of put your team into either that kind of obviously advantage or at least guarantee a draw kind of situation. So these last 2 remaining players in each team really do have a lot of pressure on their shoulders, and you can look at some of the teams that have come before them so far. A really nice mix of kind of 2-0s and 1-2 matches as well, so the stakes have been very, very high, and no surprises, Costa, to see a lot of Zacian there on the field.
Well, exactly, because Zacian does have that intrepid sort ability that the moment that it hits the field, it does get that +1 in its attack stages. So it is a very big threat, as well as the typing is so good, especially in a format that does have, of course, restricteds. It kind of pressures with just its pure amount of offense that it can offer to its trainer immediately once it's on the field, as well as its speed. But what we are going to go ahead and see, and I'm very excited for, is the matchup between Ren Chengfu and Devon. We are going to be featuring and seeing Devon's player profile right here, and oh my lord, Lou, is that a Necrozma Dawnwings?
Yeah, that was a blast from the past for sure. Looking forward to seeing that back in action on the Pokemon battlefield. But I have to say, that's not the only Pokemon on that team that made me kind of jump. Mienshao been a Pokemon that I think has been super underrated, and coming into Series 10 has really proven itself. You know, having in a focus, you're not going to be worried about fake out, and there's a plethora of that out there at the moment. Also, being able to avoid all those intimidates just makes for a really great Pokemon, and the close combat can pick up so many KOs from Mienshao. So it's a Pokemon you've got to watch out for, as well as that classic weather combination of Torkoal and Lilligant. I was about to say Torkoal and Lilycole. Well, that was its nickname back in the day, and I know a lot of people look at it and they breathe this kind of sigh of desperation, but I love weather teams. Whether you hate them or love them, I think they're a great addition to kind of Pokemon play, and I love to be able to see this combination together.
Oh, 100%. And from personal experience, I have ran that Lilycole in past, exactly, in past formats, but also in Players' Cup, and was able to do quite well. But so really threatening there. It has so much speed and pressure that it could go ahead and offer on both sides of the scales with regards to speeds. And now we're just going to be moving on to Ren Chengfu, which is going to be rocking the Calyrex Shadow Rider, Urshifu, Torkoal of their own, Regieleki, Sakataka 2, and the female Indeedee.
Yeah, really nice diverse kind of speed mix-ups here. You've got obviously the speedier Pokemon of that Shadow Rider Calyrex and Regieleki as well. Regieleki also has obviously the ability to manipulate the battlefield with speed, going for those Electro Webs, reducing the speed on the opposing side. Urshifu is known for being pretty speedy as well, whereas on the flip side, Stakataka and Torkoal love to be in that Trick Room terrain, and you've got the Indeedee there to possibly assist with trying to redirect attacks away to allow Trick Room to be set up. So it really does give Ren a lot of kind of flexibility when it comes to matchups.
It really does. So, as you can tell, of course, this is going to be a very exciting match. A lot up for grabs for both these trainers. We're just going to go ahead, pop into the actual recording, which is going to be featuring Devon's side of the field. So we do see the Lilligant, Torkoal, Necrozma, Mienshao, Stakataka, and Indeedee. There's so many different modes right now in this team. Of course, we do see a heavy reliance on the Trick Room mode, Lou, but there is a Stakataka over on Ren's side too that Devon's going to have to take account for.
Yeah, exactly. Trick Room's going to, I think, be the name of the game in this particular one, particularly when you see the matchups and the utility that they've got. I think you can kind of see already from our little sneak peek here, Devon's locking in the kind of Trick Room mode very early on there with Stakataka and Indeedee, and bringing those options of the slower Pokemon in the back as well does show that that's going to be a hard commit to that Trick Room environment. And it's going to be interesting for, on the opposing side, if they also want to commit to this kind of hard Trick Room mode, maybe predict that it's coming, accept it, and then try and utilize the change of speed terrain better. Or if you've got a way to shut it down completely and you want to go on the hyper offensive with Pokemon like the Calyrex, then that could also turn the tides as well.
It really can. So it's just going to be all about what both trainers are going to try to opt for. If Ren is going to try to bring the Trick Room mode of their own, do they think that Calyrex can make a lot of sense here? I mean, it does when it goes up against a Necrozma Dawn Wings, which does share the same typing of it as it does as well. But that does mean, of course, that it is times 4 super effective weak to Ghost type moves.
Exactly, and it's nice to see that Pokemon come back into the fray, not one of the restricteds that I think we would have pegged to kind of come into this format, but then again, it could be one that a lot of people haven't prepared for, particularly with their kind of calculations that when you go into your team building and you start building, obviously, your statistics, it possibly is one that hasn't been calculated for, so it could throw a few trainers off guard.
It can indeed, as we are going to be getting the leads. Ren, representing China, is going to be leading with the Calyrex Shadow Rider and the Regieleki, whilst Devon, representing India, is going to be bringing the female Indeedee and Stakataka, whilst also being able to bring the Psychic Terrain on the field too.
Yeah, Psychic Terrain here is going to obviously help out the Indeedee a little bit here. The other thing you have to be cautious of, though, is it will be now giving the opposing Calyrex access to Expanding Force if it does have that to be able to hit both targets. But the best synergy here is getting that Psychic Seed boost as well. So in the face of two very strong special attackers, getting that special defense boost is very nice on the Stakataka. But in all honesty, Devon here, I don't think there's really a way to stop Trick Room if you're Ren here. You know, Stakataka can easily click that button. Indeedee can follow me away any attacks. You know, if you are the Calyrex, you can go for that Astral Barrage, but it's not going to do anything to that Indeedee anyway, and I don't think one of them is going to be enough to pick up a KO against Stakataka anyway, even with a critical hit. So I think if you're Ren, you're going to have to find a way to get your Regieleki out of there, possibly with a Volt Switch, to try and deal some good damage to that opposing Indeedee, and just try and reposition here. So allow Trick Room to go up, and we know that Ren does have Pokemon that can utilize Trick Room as well.
See the female Indeedee going for the follow me right there. It will be receiving the damage from that Volt Switch over on Ren's side. It will be getting that pivot, like you did mention, Alu. So I think Ren is just trying to reposition their side right now. Maybe can bring in the Torkoal, or I would say Stakataka in this case. They want to try to be able to get prepared for the Trick Room, as we do indeed see the Stakataka of their own. And Astral Barrage does come out. This, of course, does mean, due to Indeedee's normal typing, it will be immune to this move, but the Stakataka is still open to take damage. But then again, the Psychic Seed, having that +1 special defense boost, just paying dividends to how bulky the Stakataka is right now.
Yeah, Stakataka able to take that really well, and of course having this terrain now exactly where Devon wants it to be, with that speed tier, just put Stakataka in a great position. But again, Ren doing some excellent ball positioning there, being able to bring Stakataka in, and that can protect the Calyrex that little bit more. Something else that you have to be cautious of is whether the Stakatakas are running something like Wide Guard, because any of those Astral Barrages or any of those Expanding Forces that if you keep your Calyrex in, you might want to go for now so you can at least hit the Indeedee, are going to be blocked by that Wide Guard. So it's going to be a little bit difficult, I think, for Ren to really be able to utilize the opposing Calyrex, and it might be a good opportunity to try and pivot in your Torkoal in some way, get the sun up, and then get another Trick Room in the environment that it wants to be in.
Exactly that. So the pressure right now is essentially on the field. The Calyrex doesn't even switch out, actually. Helping Hand does come out. Stack Attacker opting to go for the body press. It will pick up the KO onto Ren. Stack Attacker on their side of the field. But then again, the Calyrex will still be left to deal a lot of damage. But then again, it's still not doing as much. It's just going to be going for the Astral Barrage. It does not affect the Indeedee, and we've seen how bulky the Stack Attacker is. It looks like it's just going to need an additional hit onto the Stack Attacker if it does want to try to get rid of it.
Really nice getting the body press KO there against the opposing Stack Attacker. That's one Trick Room Pokemon down that you don't have to worry about anymore, and also gives you that cheeky Beast boost to boot. Of course, though, like you mentioned, the Calyrex very brave staying in here, and it's just going to be able to chip away at that opposing Stack Attacker. And it looks like Ren is really trying to target it down, try and get it off the field before it's able to start inflicting some damage across the rest of the Pokemon. But the Indeedee is sitting there relatively untouched, and with Torkoal coming in now, this is where I think Ren can really start that offensive pressure, because you can apply great damage, particularly with the Sun Up, down against that Indeedee. And Stack Attacker, yes, it had that special defense boost thanks to the Psychic Seed, but its HP is so low now, you know, it's not going to take a lot to be able to KO it.
Oh, exactly that. And the Torkoal is going to be undersped by this Stack Attacker. It still will be threatening a lot of pressure. Maybe try to get a cheeky flinch, perhaps, even from a Rock Slide if it does try to opt for it. But we did see the body press, which may suggest that there might not be as much investment in Stack Attacker's attack. But then again, Stack Attacker on Devon's side is looking to be in a really good spot, seeing that the Trick Room is still in play.
Exactly, and I think as well, being able to get those beast boosts up for the defense is just going to help you out for those body presses as well, because the higher your defense, the more damage your body press is going to deal. But Torkoal, I think, quite wisely going for a protect here.
Oh, and the Gyro Ball comes straight out and just misses the KO due to a Focus Sash on the Calyrex Shadow there. The double up confirming that this Calyrex will not be able to get any sort of damage off onto this turn. Brilliant play from Devon there, absolutely ignoring the Torkoal, which actually opted to go for the Protect.
You know, absolutely love that there. You know, Calyrex, I don't seem to remembering one with a Focus Sash on it as a variant. We often see it with things like Life Orb on there instead. But really nice to go for the double up then. Just potentially thinking Regieleki could switch in just to kind of sacrifice it a little bit, and often Regieleki's carrying the Focus Sash, which now begs the question, what's the item on the Regieleki?
Oh, exactly that, and I think the Trick Room is still in play, so this is all pressure right now from Devon's side. They're going to be trying to look out and try to just clean house as best as possible. Don't forget, ladies and gents, these are the only two Pokemon we have actually seen from Devon's side on field right now in this Game 1.
That's a really good observation, actually. Yeah, a lot of the game strategy Devon's got has been secret here, just being able to get that Stack Attacker into Trick Room, get those Beast Boosts rolling through as well. I think it's been really pivotal, and it's just nice to be able to see Devon not only getting Trick Room up, but utilising it so well. There's no need to bring the Torkoal in at the current situation. You're just able to deal out some damage. Stack Attacker going for that body press again, straight down into Torkoal. Torkoal does have phenomenal defenses, but that still takes a third of damage.
It really did, as the Eruption is going to be coming out as retaliation. Picks up a critical hit on the Stack Attack. I'm not sure if it did matter in that range. It did take a lot of damage dealt, as Eruption is HP based as a move. As we see the side shot coming out from the female Indeedee, will be bringing the Regieleki down to about half of its HP, as the Volt Switch will be coming out from this Regieleki, which does mean, of course, Devon has two new fresh Pokemon to bring in on their field.
Yeah, I love this. We were just saying how we hadn't seen the two Pokemon in the back, and now both of them are forced to switch out into the situation here. And again, you know, having your Torkoal, great positioning, you know, there's good damage that you can deal out, particularly if it's carrying an Earth-type move as well. You can see it running something like Earth Power, then that can apply some good pressure to actually both of the Pokemon on Ren's side of the field. You can see that Devon has indeed got that there, but something I think like a Heat Wave would be enough to pick up the KO against Regieleki, deal some damage to that Torkoal, and then you can use Necrozma to really try and pick up the KO against it here. You always get a little bit of kind of flexibility with Necrozma here, being your restricted. It's got that good HP there, should be able to take an attack or two.
Yeah, it really should. And in this situation, it's just all for Devon to try to win this game out, as they do have a lot of resources in comparison. We see the Torkoal move first on Devon's side, and oh my lord, does so much damage onto the opposing Torkoal, picks up a double KO, and absolutely gives so much momentum for Devon going into Game 2 after having this great win on their side of the field.
That was amazing. And I think the good thing there is Devon seems to be getting a lot of, whether they were speed ties or not, we're not too sure. But being able to move first in those environments just guaranteed the KOs. Being able to do such destructive damage, getting the eruption off there, just able to pick up the solid KOs, really actually meant that a lot of information wasn't revealed from the Necrozma, for example, that pivotal kind of restricted Pokemon, which is going to be interesting going into game 2.
Oh, exactly, because Ren just knows that the Necrozma was in the back, but they just don't know what it can do right now. Sure, you can absolutely assume that it is a Trick Room-orientated Pokemon. It does carry a lot of very good moves, has such a vast move pool when it comes to having that Psychic typing. It's got Trick Room, it's got so much access, it can even take advantage with Expanding Force of its own. So it can really, really threaten so much. So you need to try to figure out, of course, what it does when your opponent tries to bring it in on the field, as we have actually seen quite similar to Lunala's as well, that Power Herb is an option to go for with that Meteor Beam access.
Well, that's what I was just thinking. I'm so used to seeing Necrozma in situations where it's holding something like a Z Crystal, for example, back in 2017 and 2018. But having the Power Herb for that Meteor Beam can be so devastating, particularly if it comes down into the face of a Pokemon like that Torkoal. It's just going to be able to obliterate it. But I think one thing that if you're Ren here, you have to be careful of is that Trick Room, because Devon was able to get the Trick Room up very safely. And Ren was leading with 2 very fast offensive Pokemon. So not only did they then not be able to benefit from Trick Room, but it forced Ren to have to go on the back foot and start pivoting, which was giving Devon crucial opportunities to start picking up those KOs. So possibly, if you're Ren, you might want to have a Trick Room mode ready to go right from the off so that you can put your Pokemon in advantageous situations. But then you have to be careful if Devon maybe wants to switch things up, go for that Lilycole mode and start putting some Pokemon to sleep.
Yeah, I think so, because all the pressure right now is on Devon's side, and I think Ren is just going to have to try to adapt. I'm not sure what kind of Urshifu that is, whether it's the Dark typing, the Single Fist, or if it is the Rapid Strike, the Water typing. As in this situation, though, even if, for example, Ren does try to bring it, it doesn't have a lot of ground up against these double threats on Devon's side, on both spectrums of the speed tiering. You have the Lilligant Sun mode so fast, and then you have the hard Trick Room mode with potential huge damage output coming out from the Torkoal.
Well, I'm loving this here. We've got the Indeedee and the Calyrex out in the fray, as, you know, Devon sticking with what was tried and tested in game 1, Stack Attacker and the Indeedee. Now, this is where things do get quite interesting, because, again, I don't really see a way for Trick Room to stop going off here.
Well, exactly that, and I'm not sure if Ren has any solid options to try to counteract this Trick Room. I felt like the only thing that they can do is maybe bring the Stack Attacker of their own and Torkoal, and maybe somehow try to whittle down the HP of Devon's Pokemon, to be honest, as we do actually see Psychic Seed proccing on that female Indeedee as well on Ren's side of the field, and of course we do see the Stack Attacker do the exact same.
Yeah, getting a special defense boost on both sides of the field here. And again, that's going to stand the Stack Attacker in good stead against this Calyrex that we saw just going for Astral Barrage time and time again. Again, if you're Ren here, this could be a good opportunity to, you could possibly preserve your Indeedee here, just so you can redirect some kind of Gyro Balls a little bit later on, and possibly switch out the Calyrex here. If you know that Devon's going to go for something like Follow Me Trick Room, your Pokemon are going to have a bit of a safer switch in here. So it could be an opportunity to bring in a Pokemon like the Torkoal from the back, bring that Sun and start dealing some really strong fire type moves to this situation. But then again, Devon going to be setting up that Trick Room, is going to be able to then bring in a Pokemon from the back, but instead we're going to see the Helping Hand come out from Indeedee, boosting up those Astral Barrages.
Ren opting to go for full damage right now in this turn 1 to try to deal as much damage as possible into the Stack Attacker, as it is able to guarantee just a bit over a 2-hit KO. But wait, Lou, the reveal of the Heal Pulse comes out from Devon's female Indeedee, recovers all of that HP straight up as if nothing happened.
This is absolutely brilliant, because you know that there's nothing that your opponent can do with kind of Follow Me Trick Room. So why Follow Me? Boost up any damage Stack Attack is going to take, and it really does render that Helping Hand Astral Barrage useless, while Devon is able to get Trick Room up with Trick Room Pokemon on the field. Devon's now in a great position where you can just go for a Gyro Ball or a Rock Slide or something here. Ren not actually going to be making any switches. Again, just going for that Follow Me in case Gyro Ball is coming out, which is the move choice of Stack Attacker.
It is, as it is going to deal so much damage. The double up right here, it's not going to be taken into account the Psychic Seed, as of course it is attacking the physical defensive side of the female D. Oh wait, Lou, here it is, the reveal of the Calyrex Shadow going for the Trick Room of its own.
That is brilliant. Reversing the Trick Room here, now putting things back into kind of Calirex's control. The one issue, however, is there's nothing really stopping these players from going for something very similar. And when you actually look at the 2 turns that have come out of it, the one who's taken the most damage is that Ndidi on Ren's side of the field. So again, Ren doesn't really have a way to stop Trick Room here if Devon wants to set it up again, but Devon could also just try and go for some kind of hyper offense here. The Ndidi on Devon's side could pick up the KO against the opposing Ndidi, for example, and then leaving the Calyrex free to take a gyro ball. So unless there's going to be some defensive plays, maybe trying to get in the head of their opponent a little bit about who's going to Trick Room here, because again, if you're Ren, you don't want to click that Trick Room button trying to reverse it and then accidentally set it up for the opposing stack attacker while it gets damage off this turn. So Calyrex, I think, leaving the field is impressive enough so far this game too.
It really has. So maybe expecting Devon to try to get that Trick Room going once again on their side of the field. We do see Follow Me from the Ndidi over on Ren's side, just wanting to guarantee that the stack attacker can come onto the field without taking any sort of damage. The side shot, though, from Devon's Ndidi will be enough to pick up the KO onto Ren's, as, yes, Devon's stack attacker does opt to go for the Trick Room.
Yeah, I like this. Some really good adjustment here from Ren, bringing in your stack attacker. And although it's sad to have your Ndidi KO'd, I think it could be very advantageous if Torkoal is also in the back for Ren, because this gives you the free opportunity to bring it in. And there we do. We see the little tortoise here in action, bringing the sun. And now suddenly Ren has got 2 Pokemon that can both go for spread moves against Devon's team. So you don't even have to worry about Follow Me if you don't want to. You do, however, have to worry about a potential Y-Guard coming out from that stack attacker. But of course, if Devon wants to go on the more defensive mode, Ndidi's not really the powerhouse. So Devon's not going to be able to deal a lot of damage out in this turn.
It really will not, but then again, you have to take into consideration the speed tiering from all of these Pokemon. The stack attacker on both sides of the field will potentially be speed time. So if Devon does opt to try to go for a helping hand body press to try to take Ren by surprise yet again, as we had seen in game 1, this could be quite detrimental if it does target down, outspeed Ren's stack attacker, and pick up a KO immediately.
Yeah, you're right. Body press could be interesting. And there's a helping hand from Ndidi on Devon's side, making sure that if it is a body press, it's going to be super powerful. However, Ren's stack attacker is able to outspeed, goes with the body press, and picks up the KO before Devon's is able to move Costa.
Oh my lord, there we go. Speed tie galore, ladies and gents, as stack attacker on Ren's side will now be getting its well-earned defensive boost in stage, as we do see a Life Orb actually revealed there. Eruption just goes for the damage and absolutely picks up a KO onto that female Ndidi. Single target Eruption in the sun, and it has no chance to survive that.
Yeah, absolute devastation coming out from the Torkoal there. I mean, like you said, single target in the sun into that Ndidi that, you know, really didn't do anything. It was just sort of left standing clapping. And really not a lot that it could do. And now it does again give Devon the opportunity to bring in the Torkoal on the Necrozma here. And we know how much damage that Choice Specs Torkoal can deal out from Devon's side. But with the very high HP stats that Ren's got at the moment, things could be a little bit more difficult for that little Torkoal. The Necrozma, however, can potentially still, you know, really try and remove that Torkoal from play with something like the Meteor Beam. Again, you can utilize things like the Expanding Force to try and deal a little bit of spread damage, but I think the key thing here is to try and focus down one Pokemon at a time. The Torkoal can really try and target down against that stack attacker, leaving the Necrozma free to target down the opposing Torkoal, and I think it really is going to be about picking which Pokemon you want to remove.
Go body press from the stack attacker deals so much damage, boosted both by the defensive stage boost previous turn from Beast Boost and the Life Orb. Double up confirmed, picks up the KO onto the Torkoal, as Ren's seems to just be winning all those speed ties, if of course those both Pokemon are trained to be absolutely minimum speed. Expanding Force comes out, deals so much damage, picks up the KO straight out of the bag onto the Torkoal, and does deal respectable amounts of damage onto the stack attacker.
Yeah, I mean, that's just phenomenal actually coming through with the double up into that opposing Torkoal. And we mentioned in game 1 that it looked like Devon was actually able to get a lot of the faster moves, so winning those kind of speed tides, I suppose. And then in this game, unfortunately for Devon, it looks like Red has been able to get them, as making for such an exciting match for us here. It looks like, yeah, Devon maybe hasn't really got a way through back from this one, unfortunately. Stack attacker just too strong, and bringing in that Calyrex as well, that can obviously threaten with the ghost type moves when things return to normal on the battlefield, makes things very, very difficult.
It really does, and Ren just going ahead and showing that lovely tech of the Calyrex Shadow Rider being able to have the Trick Room to add so many mind games to Devon's game plan there. As of course, Ren did win speed ties that they had to, where they were able to bring it to this situation, but they played to what they could. They don't have a straight up really good matchup against Devon's hard Trick Room mode, but then again, we don't know, because the Calyrex Shadow Rider does indeed have a focus sash. We don't know if it has Imprison or not, so it can absolutely shut down all sorts of Pokemon's moves that have the same moves that of course the Calyrex does have.
I mean, yeah, that's normally where we see kind of the male Indeedee on Pokemon squads, where you do run that kind of Trick Room Imprison strategy. With the female Indeedee, it's definitely more of that kind of supportive and offensive role where you're going that follow me, you've got expanding force and protecting things like that. And the heal pulse, I think, was a really nice addition to kind of have there, because you were just able to heal up your Pokemon, particularly Pokemon like the Torkoal and Stakataka that are very defensively invested. They can easily take a hit or two. Being able to just heal pulse those back up can really kind of affect the morale of your opponent a little bit if your Pokemon are finding their feet in battle constantly and are just so hard to take away. Again, this is where mind games are. I love a game 3. We've seen Trick Room being the hard commit here for Devon in both games 1 and game 2, and Ren hasn't really had a way to prevent it from going up, but I think the critical thing that Ren adjusted in game 2 was preparing for that Trick Room much better, making sure Stakataka and Torkoal got in to the battlefield to utilize those turns. This is where things get very interesting. If Devon did want to switch things up and bring that Lilligant Torkoal, we can see at the minute that's the option that he's thinking about.
Yeah, and like you said, I think the heal pulse did kind of take away momentum from Ren's game plan. Lilligant Torkoal, however, will be very, very interesting to see here. Maybe Devon opting to try to go and counteract any sort of Calyrex Trick Room situations, so they could maybe try to go threaten with a Sleep Powder or two, or even go for that very nice tech that the Lilligant does carry, the After You Eruption, to just deal so much damage and potentially pick up a double KO if the correct Pokemon's on the field.
You know, for a moment there, I completely blanked out on After Your Eruption. It's just such a nice way to make Torkoal a speedy Pokemon out on the battlefield and so formidable, particularly in the face of even Pokemon like the Calyrex. Being able to go for a Choice Specs Eruption in the sun at full HP is going to be absolutely devastating. But you have to watch out for that Focus Sash that we've seen revealed on the opposing Calyrex. However, I don't see Calyrex in the lead here, Costa. I do see Lilligant Torkoal against Indeedee and Torkoal. This makes the Eruption a little bit more difficult because Torkoal obviously isn't going to mind taking that too much, and Indeedee has the option to withdraw in any of those Earth powers.
Well, exactly that. And to be honest, if I were Devon right now, I would be so tempted to just go for any sort of eruption play here. You do have the redirection from the female Indeedee, of course, that you have to take into consideration. If you want to try to go for After You, it will fail if the Follow Me does come out from the female Indeedee. So it might be whether you play safe or you just go risky and just try to go for it, maybe win a speed tie if you can, as this situation is a bit awkward, I think, for both trainers.
Yeah, I think it's going to be interesting to see how players are going to adjust here, because Devon obviously doesn't want to leave in you don't want to leave your Lilligant in against an Expanding Force and an Eruption or a Heat Wave or any kind of Fire type move. It could be the option to try and put some Sleep down on the opposing side of the field and just, you know, commit again to that Trick Room mode and just, you know, stop Ren from being able to go for it by putting the Pokemon asleep. And I think Torkoal going for the Protect here is very, very wise. Just doesn't want to take one of those Sleep Powders that Lilligant was going for into the Indeedee, however, manages to find its mark.
My lord, you love to see it. There's the Sleep Powder, brings me Battler, as it is able to go ahead and successfully land onto the female Indeedee. Devon actually opting to go for Heat Wave here, maybe just taking into consideration Ren, maybe outspeeding, the Sleep Powder missing, of course, and didn't want to try to have any sort of damage output affected, as the Torkoal would have taken a lot of damage there.
Yeah, no, I think that's good. Stopping your Eruption potentially being weakened here, and Heat Wave still in Sun's going to deal a huge chunk of damage from respect to Torkoal. But this leaves Lilligant really free to just go for the Sleep Powder down into that other slot into the Torkoal, because if Torkoal stays in, it's likely going to take the Sleep Powder, and then if anything switches in, it's going to catch it as well. So Ren is in a really difficult situation here. There's no way to stop these Sleep Powders. You've just got to kind of cross your fingers and hope that their Lilligant is going to miss them. We've seen it time and time again, with the accuracy certainly is called into question. But then the Torkoal is just free to start dealing out some damage with those Heat Waves, and unfortunately for the Indeedee, it's just going to have to sit and take them, even though it has got that special defense boost that's helped it survive that first one. I think otherwise it would be a clean 2-hit, but you can see it's still taking a nap, and Lilligant is free to go for the Sleep Powder and connect.
Oh, there it is, the connection as well, which means Torkoal will not be able to move this turn, as the Indeedee is still asleep as well. Heatwave comes out, and it does so much damage, nearly getting the 2-hit KO onto the Torkoal there. But right now, Devon has all of the pressure, and Ren can't exactly switch anything in right now, because whatever comes in will take a lot of damage. So I think Ren just has to try to wait it out, maybe get a Pokemon to wake up, or just try to bring in any new fresh Pokemon in the back once any other gets KO'd onto the field.
I mean, this is where it's nice to go for that after you, because in case that Indeedee wakes up, you don't want to get it or allow it to get an expanding force off here. You want to be able to just pick up a KO against it. So just going for that Heat Wave, just eliminating it from the field. And we know that Torkoal's not the most specially defensive, so you can see how much it did to the opposing Torkoal, and that's certainly going to hurt if it's able to hit again. And Lilligant just going for the after you here, Costa.
It's as if Devon can hear you right now, Lou. The Heat Wave comes out, though. Oh, it does a void on the Torkoal, so it's not able to deal a bit more damage output that it would have really loved doing so. But more importantly, it did avert any potential wake-ups from the female Indeedee, which would have, of course, inflicted a lot of damage, as Psych Terrain is still on the field with Expanding Force.
Exactly, and this is where, again, Ren now gets the opportunity to bring in a Pokemon from the back, but that Lilligant in, the sunshine with Chlorophyll is going to be so speedy, and this is where it applies a lot of pressure to that opposing Calyrex as well. We know as well the Calyrex has, the Focus Sash. It's not going to be holding any kind of rogue waking berry kind of thing, no Chasto berry here to be seen. And so it is going to be a direct target for that Lilligant, and that will be a great way to protect up the Torkoal going forward.
Yeah, it really will be, because we do, of course, know that the Focus Sash is on that Calyrex there. You see that the Calyrex is opting to try to go for Protect. It wants to try to keep it intact for a new Pokemon to come in. As Grass Knot actually comes out, the move from Lilligant there, it goes into the Protect. Heatwave follows suit immediately after. We see Devon's Torkoal still outspeeding Ren's Torkoal, whilst Ren's Torkoal wakes up. Oh, unfortunately goes for Eruption there. At such low HP, it's not able to deal much damage at all, but may have broken a Focus Sash if this Lilligant is carrying one.
Well, that's where the play from Devon was actually genius, going from that grass not 100% accurate into that opposing Calyrex to break the Focus Sash that has been revealed, so that Torkoal could potentially have tried to pick up the KO with the Heat Wave. Yeah, unfortunate that the Torkoal on the opposing side has now woken up, but it's not going to be, too much of a threat due to the Eruption damage was very, very minimal. And, Torkoal going for the Flamethrower here on this side, though. Very, very interesting.
Oh, this may mean Calyrex is trying to opt to go for a Trick Room of its own, as Heatwave on Devon's side is able to pick up a burn, as well as deal so much damage onto the Calyrex, pick up a KO onto the opposing Torkoal as well. But this may be an indication, Lou, of the stacked attacker wanting to come onto the field right now.
Yeah, this is nice timing here from Ren, being able to set the Trick Room up as the sun phase as well, limiting that Torkoal potential. But in a way, that also really, really helps out that Lilligant. Chlorophyll no longer making it speed ×2, so it's going to be reduced a little bit more, and it can possibly interact in this Trick Room environment a little bit. Now the Torkoal's gone, that's the Pokemon that really did threaten that Lilligant. Something like a stack attacker, Lilligant's going to be better versed to deal with, particularly as we know that it is carrying Grass Knot. That's something stack attacker in turn doesn't want to take. So the speed tiers here are going to get very interesting, I think, particularly between the Torkoal and that opposing stack attacker.
Or exactly that, as it's a bit awkward, like you did say, Lou. We do see Ren opt to bring in the stack attacker right now, so it is a life orb stack attacker, we do have to note. But at this situation, I just feel like Ren doesn't have the amount of resources that Devon does. Devon still has 2 fresh Pokemon in the back that Ren has to try to consider for. Their Calyrex is burned and at such low HP too, so it's a bit awkward, as we do see the Rock Slide coming out from stack attacker connecting.
Yeah, that Life Orb Rock Slide does a huge chunk of damage, not enough to pick up a KO apiece, but can potentially get some of those flinches. Not for Torkoal though, it breaks through, but it does manage to avoid the stack attacker though. Really did need to find its mark against that Pokemon. Removing the Calyrex in play is great, that's one more Pokemon down, but stack attacker with Rock Slide moving first there, certainly dangerous. Lilligant, however, for Devon, also able to power through, goes for that Grass Knot, does so much damage to that absolute chunk of rock Pokemon. So heavy, you're going to take a lot of damage from it. And like you mentioned, Devon's got 4 Pokemon here. Stack Attacker, maybe in Trick Room, maybe able to go for those Rock Slides. But a few protects either way here from Devon's going to be able to store that Trick Room very, very easily.
It really will be, because in this scenario, of course, it is a life orb stack attacker too. So its HP will be dropping essentially due to all of the recoils from whatever attacks it does come out and does connect with. As Lilligant is going to be going for protect. The stack attacker now has switched in for the Torkoal, so maybe taking it into consideration for future turns. As we do see, of course, the rock slide coming out from Ren's stack attacker will be doing so little damage onto Devon's stack attacker right now, and you see the HP is just dropping right now. This does look to me like game loot.
Yeah, this is often the nightmare situation. We've got stack attacker versus stack attacker, and they're just clicking rock slide. However, Devon is going to save us from that by having extra Pokemon here that can also throw some turns into the mix. But unfortunately, I think for Ren, it's just not going to be enough to be able to pull through and seal out the game. So, you know, unfortunately for him, he will be losing the set, but huge congratulations. I mean, what an amazing game to kick off this broadcast.
It really was. You just saw the trick room battles between both these trainers. Who's going to have the speed advantage against not? As sorry, apologies, I've been distracted by our lovely special guest there. As of course, we saw all the different interactions both trainers had to take into account. The Calyrex Shadow Rider is so intriguing to have with the Focus Sash set. It may have actually cost Ren there, maybe not having Imprison on it, as of course it would have just completely shut down the mode on Devon's side in game 1, would have put in so much pressure. Game 2, as we did see that Devon was able to adapt, brought that Lilligant Torkoal in game 3, and just absolutely swept, and still had the hard trick room mode in the back.
I think that was a brilliant game 3 adjustment, to be honest, because games 1 and 2, Devon had really hard committed to Trick Room, and then coming in with that Lilligant and having the option for the fast mode, I think was phenomenal, because we saw that Ren had the capability to also set up the Trick Room, and possibly if you were Devon, you could go, hey, I've got the fast mode, but worst case scenario, maybe my opponent will set up Trick Room, and then I've got the Pokemon utility needed to be able to make Trick Room in a positive environment for me as well. So really Trick Room being used, and I've seen a Crozma as well, even though we kind of didn't actually get to see it do too much, but it was certainly an interesting Pokemon that gave us something to talk about.
It really did, and of course that will be pushing India into the advantage right now, 4-3 versus China. China needs to either win the last match right now, or they may lose, which will just give the win straight over to India. So it's still very pressing. We don't know the results right now, as based on the website, they will be updated. So if you do want to follow that, please go ahead over to Victory Road's website and check it out, as we're going to go and cut to a very short break. We'll be right back, and don't worry, both Lou and Mr. Elgato here will still be remaining, so we'll catch you in a bit, and thank you so much for joining us so far.